And so that's my mission. So to reach out to people that care about people at scale, not for the warm, fuzzy feeling in your heart. Okay, I helped someone down the road. I built a house for them. I mean, that's great, but it's a really, really expensive way to help a small number of people. You might feel great after you've done it, but what about all of those thousands of people you could have helped that you just didn't see, right? Just because you didn't see them doesn't mean they were less deserving of that help. No. Being effective in philanthropy often means letting go of that fuzzy feeling. You may not
Yeah.
meet the people you help. Now you're helping people at scale. You don't get to meet the individuals, but you're making a difference that really, really matters. And finding people that understand that, are okay with that, is my job.
Welcome to Backseat Ballers, the podcast where we sit down with entrepreneurs and turn obstacles into opportunity and purpose. Today's guest lives at the intersection of two worlds that almost never touch. Austin Fowler is a quantum engineer formerly at Google, one of the minds working on the frontier of quantum error correction and next generation computation. He's a published researcher, an educator who teaches quantum systems on Coursera, and a leader in quantum AI efforts. But Austin is also something else, something rare. He's the founder of Stairway Invest, a venture born from his work with Opportunity International, an organization empowering entrepreneurs across Africa, Asia, and Latin America with access to capital. Austin also serves as a tech advisor, helping redesign microfinance through innovation, security, and trust. His journey spans continents, from Australia to Canada to the US, and his personal mission spans domains just as wide, using cutting-edge technology to solve real human problems. Today, we're talking about the inflection points that shape that mission, the moments in Google Labs and in global villages, the emotional pivots, the failures and breakthroughs, and how a quantum engineer discovered his purpose, helping entrepreneurs who simply need a chance. This is one of the most unique stories you'll hear, so buckle up and let's get into it. Now, Austin, you've lived and worked across Australia, Canada, and now the US. When you look back, what early experiences or influences from those transitions shaped your curiosity, your worldview, and your drive to solve big problems?
These people are poor, but they're educated now by you. You have a loan guarantee in place as well. We will lend to these people. And the numbers are stark. 2024, 36 million in donations. They reached over 30 countries, over 20 million clients, and got $2.5 billion of locally lent capital into the hands of the aspirational farmers, educators, and entrepreneurs that build
That's
the
incredible.
economy from the ground up. And when I heard this, it's like light bulb moment. Obviously, that's the right thing to do, right? You tell people, hey, did you know there's this successful person over there? There's a group you can go and join, and you'll learn a whole lot more about your industry. And by the way, once you're part of that group, you'll be able to get the capital you need to grow your dreams. Sound good? There they are. $1.50 per client per year. They focus almost exclusively on women, because women are, generally speaking, more responsible with money than men. There's much less chance that it goes into gambling or drinking or other women. So, over 95% of their clients are women. And so those 20 million clients really represent an average family of 5. That's 100 million people on 36 million a year. So it then became, well, I have to advocate for this. How can I become a bigger person so I can help this organization do what it's doing? Why not the bottom 200 million people? Why not 2 billion? Why not everywhere? Why is this not a business that is everywhere? Because what they teach is practiced by successful people everywhere. You find your community, you share best practices, you have each other's back when things go wrong. It's universal.
Yeah.
Another way of looking at their numbers, 36 million in donations, 20 million clients. If you monetize them at the $2 per client per year level, you have a profitable business that scales. And so the mission became, all right, great. I only have so many resources. I mean, not zero, but still only so many. How do I reach people that are far bigger than myself? How do I have a story that they would even be interested in connecting with? And so I started my company, Stairway, as a student. And I figured that, look, if Opportunity International can go into the developing world and find small entrepreneurs and get them the capital they would never otherwise be able to access, I'll go to the first world and I'll form a network of professional investors and we'll form a shared brand. And together we'll get an amount of capital that we could never get individually. And we'll use that to invest ethically to generate profits that we can then use to help people. So that's what we do. And I'll use that entire endeavor, my physics, my quantum computing, my philanthropy, my business, all of it, to meet interesting people that are far bigger than me and make them aware of that light bulb moment that I had and get them on the mission too. Because after all, we live in a world where some individuals have amassed $100 billion or more, right? There are thousands of billionaires around the world. How is it possible that an organization that can reach 20 million people is 54 years old on just 36 million bucks? Doesn't have a line of billionaires lining up saying, you know what, this totally makes sense. It's how I succeeded. I got my education, I got my capital, I built my dreams. I wanted to pay that forward and give everyone that chance too. How is it possible that we don't have those people lining up to work with Opportunity International? And so that's my mission. So to reach out to people that care about people at scale, not for the warm, fuzzy feeling in your heart. Okay, I helped someone down the road. I built a house for them. I mean, that's great, but it's a really, really expensive way to help a small number of people. You might feel great after you've done it, but what about all of those thousands of people you could have helped that you just didn't see, right? Just because you didn't see them doesn't mean they were less deserving of that help. You know, being effective in philanthropy often means letting go of that fuzzy feeling. You may not meet the people you help, because now you're helping people at scale. You don't get to meet the individuals, but you're making a difference that really, really matters. And finding people that understand that, are okay with that, is my job. So it's a very intentional process of looking for people that say, yes, number one, core belief, I would like to help as many people as possible. Number two, we really mean it. So we're going to do our research and really find out what ways we can approach that problem and really help people at scale, and then execute. Gather the resources, build a business if necessary, network, whatever it takes to make that happen. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. The business that I built takes people in the first world through that financial journey. If you know nothing about investing, well, we'll create a savings account for you. It'll pay 8% per annum. It'll be much better than you get from a bank. And you'll get to be coupled with a professional investor who will show you how they're paying that, what assets they're acquiring to do that, involve you in the due diligence process so you can participate too. All the way up to and including, if you wish, learning how to run your own managed fund as well, using the infrastructure we've built. We take people on that full journey from know nothing all the way up to running their own managed fund, if that's something in their life ambition set. And along the way, make sure it's ethical investing with the purpose of getting to the point where you're looked after and you can look after other people too. So that's the why, right? There is great need out in that world, and opportunities are not distributed equally. Talent is. I always like to think about, the golden rule. Treat people the way you wish to be treated. What if I hadn't been born in Melbourne, Australia, where 20 million people had ownership of an entire continent, and you have all the resources you could ever dream of, right? What if I'd been born somewhere way, way, way poorer, hadn't had access to the schools, been in a place where it's common for someone to go all the way through elementary school and still not be able to read because the quality of education is so bad? Would the person that swapped shoes with me, would they care, right?
Well, this is something, Austin, I think makes you really unique, because almost every time I talk to anybody with any other charity, so I was just in Colorado, and it's this village for single moms, they had some connection to growing up in a home with a single mom that was abused and needed that place, right? When I speak with my friends who go to India, their daughter was donating to an orphanage, and that led them to the problems that are in India, right? So and I think you mentioned a little bit about it, but I didn't catch it. What came first for you? Getting connected to Opportunity International, they made you aware of all this? Or were you already aware of all the hunger and the starvation taking place?
No, so Opportunity International was, I went to a talk, so it was a very talented speaker, and they really laid it all out, Did you know that just the fact that you have a bank account puts you in the top few percent of humanity, right? Having savings, having, right, heating and cooling in your house. Do you have any idea how lucky you are to be in this room listening to this talk? Because here, and they laid it out, is the reality for so very many people around the world, right? Poverty is not just your house is simpler. Poverty is a lethal, terminal condition that makes so very many hundreds of millions of people around the world suffer. And did you know that you can actually do something about it? Did you know that even if, let's take for an example, you have a very low paying job in the US. Even on a very low paying job, if you organize your finances right, you can probably afford to give away $30 a week, right? Just that, right? It may not be easy, but you can do it. Even on the lowest of lowest job. $30 a week is $1,500 a year. $1,500 a year is enough at $1.50 per client per year to begin the journey for 1,000 families out of poverty. And that's if you are a cleaner, a road sweeper, something very simple in the United States. People don't realize how wealthy you are with any job in the United States compared to the rest of the world.
Did you see
There are many countries where,
it was just
where
just
annual
recently,
salary is $500 or less.
yeah, just recently. I think there's a bit of a lag, but just recently I saw they were talking about how Mississippi is the poorest per capita state in America, and Mississippi has now surpassed every country in Europe on a per capita basis for wealth.
Exactly.
Like that lets you know, like what you're saying, like you could literally just that $30 a week that you were mentioning from somebody who doesn't view themselves as wealthy. We are still so much wealthier.
Yeah. You know, people need to understand that just having a phone in your pocket and a subscription and a cable I mean, these are incredible luxuries.
Yeah. So you think if I was a person who felt poor, right, due to my surroundings here in America, but I made the effort to give $30 a week away, do you think that benefits me personally in ways that are difficult to calculate as a person?
Well, you can calculate it numerically. Like I mentioned, with Opportunity International, that $30 a week makes it possible for 1,000 families a year to begin that journey. And that should give someone a great deal of satisfaction and peace,
Right.
knowing that you're not poor, right? You're not
Yeah.
poor at all, right? You
And
are
that changes
way on the top
mindset,
of the
right?
pile. That's right. You are way on the top of the pile in the US with pretty much any job. Yeah, just being able to enjoy public parks and public transport and, hop on a scooter that happens to be on the side of the road and scoot around your city. This is an incredible level of wealth compared to so very many countries.
So what made you want to do this in a first world country where people are already so wealthy, where you
Yeah, so
decided to create a platform to educate people
yeah,
here in America?
Opportunity International already has the platform to educate people elsewhere. Here, it's all about building a business that gives me the resources and the story to network with people far more successful than myself. So, where are the people that I need to speak to? Primarily they're in the United States. Where does the business therefore need to be? It needs to be in the United States. If the goal is to gather resources that I can then donate, the United States is one of the best places to build a business in the world, right? The regulatory environment is ideal for doing it, and I know that because I started my business in Australia and it was not possible to make it grow there because the regulatory environment was too restrictive. Same deal with Canada, lived there as well. The US is far more open than I guess many people realize. If you're born in the US, you don't truly
Yeah.
understand the level of opportunity you have at your fingertips.
Yeah. Yeah. Because somebody like me, it's all I know. And it feels like I'm buried under this mountain of regulations and burden. But you're telling me, compared to Canada and Australia, I'm blessed from a
That's
regulatory
right.
standpoint.
In Australia, to build the business I built, which is raising capital, deploying it in assets, right? I effectively run a bank. Savings accounts at 8%, no FDIC insurance, but we asset back them, personally guarantee them. Been doing this for 23 years. To build that business in Australia, I have a PhD in physics, spent 10 years at university. The regulator told me, number one, you have to go back to school for 3 to 5 years and get a finance degree. It's like, I've already built the business. I already have 130 clients. They're already happy. No. And then after you do that, you must work in the finance industry for a further 3 to 5 years from established large player. And if you don't do that, the answer is no. But I get that I can see your business. I get that your clients are happy. We don't care. The answer is no, denied. And so I had to wind up the business in Australia. That's how difficult it is. You can imagine how much of a club it is. If to even make a small managed fund, you need all of those things. Most people can't invest 10 years of their life to do that, right? And in the US, by contrast, I can help someone duplicate what I've done for 15 grand. It takes about a month. There's no going to school. There's no job experience. We teach people how to do it. The regulatory environment is super lightweight, and you can do this in all 50 states, the United States. Raise up to $150 million before you even need to become a registered investment advisor. Like, imagine that. In the US, you are allowed to manage $149 million without even being a registered investment advisor. Right. That's a very lightweight regulatory environment.
Yes. Yeah, and so full disclosure.
It's far easier to be success.
Yeah, so full disclosure to everybody watching, I am a licensed investment advisor with a Series 66. I've owned my own registered investment advisory firm, registered at the SEC level. And I am one of your fund managers with Stairway Invest. And I think it is the neatest thing I have ever come across in this industry. I've been in it since March of 2014. And I can't even describe how excited I am about it, to be honest. So, question for you.
And I just go ahead.
All right. What in your time doing this? Like, I want to get into like some of the challenges that you've dealt with. If you're open to it, some of them, if you've made mistakes, you're so analytical. Maybe you never have. But what I'd like to know more about that because you seem to me, one of the things that I hate about my industry is it's built to allow the people on my side of the table to not take responsibility. You have gone the exact opposite. You take a massive amount of responsibility, the most somebody can take, by personally guaranteeing the assets that people place with you and the interest. But then you're also backing in some sense, there's this, you're also shouldering the responsibility with your fund managers to a certain degree, are you not?
We do, to a certain extent. We take responsibility at the training level. So with fund managers, we make sure that they are aware that the ideal way to invest is not on your own. You should post TILs to a forum. We have a forum with nearly 800 investors on it. They should pass that. You should give people an opportunity to ask question after question and make sure that it stands up to scrutiny. So we're very anti just do your best and hide in a little corner and invest. It's very risky to do that. You will never, ever spot all of the little details. Yeah. So we provide a nurturing environment. That's the main level of responsibility we have for all of our managers. Please don't just do things on your own. That's one. Two, the ecosystem itself encourages people to audit their assets every month. So that's what I do. So all my clients can see everything I've done the previous month, where my assets are at every month. So you have a systematic method for everyone to build trust with their clients, to prove with real numbers that they know what they're doing. And all of that is done publicly so that everyone can keep everyone safe. And it really came down to a lack of knowledge that led me to build the business this way. Growing up in Australia, I didn't grow up in an entrepreneurial family that was starting companies or knew anything particularly advanced when it came to investing. My dad finished school in 7th grade. My mum finished school in 9th grade, right?
Wow.
But back then, that was not unusual, and that's how they built their lives. And I was the first person in my family to go to university. Uh, it was not as though I came from a background of CEOs and executives. So my experience when it came to capital raising was banks. Banks raise money. I'll do the same thing. Banks raise money by offering interest and security. I'll do the same. It was only much later in my life that I was even exposed to the whole US industry where people typically raise equity. We'll pay you,
Yes.
we won't promise you anything, but we project that we can give you 20%, 25%. But there's no responsibility. If we lose it all, not our problem. That's your problem. And it is interesting that people choose to do that. Because if you really know what you're doing and you have a track record that extends back a decade or more, and you have been delivering to investors 20% return after 20% return, why do you keep doing that? Why don't you then use that credibility and lower your capital cost, right? So it's always fascinating that people continue to do that decade after decade. It's like, you don't need to do that. You're an incredible person. You invest at the highest of levels. Why are you paying your investors so much money? So we turned around and just started and built that foundation from the beginning. 8% per annum savings accounts. As a bank manager, you effectively get a loan at 8% per annum, interest capitalizing, term forever, no repayments. That's what being a bank gives you. Why don't you do that? The only thing you need to do is put your money where your mouth is and say, yes, I know how to beat 8% over the long haul, which you damn well should know how to do, because you can put money in the S&P 500 and over the long haul it's going to beat 8%, right? Almost any sensibly constructed, totally boring real estate deal has an excellent chance of making a lot more than 8% per annum. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it in the first place. When you invest in multifamily, the preferred return alone is usually at least 8%. You are essentially betting that you can choose an operator who has an excellent track record and a deal that makes sense and beat the developer's worst case scenario on average. Right? It's not hard to beat 8% if you know what you're doing when it comes to investing. And if you do know what you're doing, why not only pay 8% to your investors? Why not then use that upside to do good things in the world? Why not, because your capital is now much cheaper, do better things with your investing? If you really want to build affordable housing, it helps a lot to not have to pay a 20% return to an investor. If you really want to build renewable energy projects, it really helps to not have to promise a 20% return to an investor. So it's not just that you make more money when you raise capital at 8. It's that you have more options to do good things in the world because your capital is cheaper.
Yeah. That's awesome. So one of the interesting things about um like I don't think I really understood how important the educational aspect of it was uh, when I first got introduced to you. And so and I've come to really appreciate buying that. I recently was reading Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and he had this question: how many times have you asked somebody to borrow money versus how many times have you asked someone to teach you how to make money? And that hit
Yeah.
me hard, right? And you are providing like free to anybody and everybody who wants to an opportunity to learn how to invest and make money. And
Yeah.
are you ever shocked at how few people take you up on that?
It is an interesting process. Yeah, many people will sit there and say, I am busy. I have my job, I have my family, I have my hobbies. I'm done. I have no time left to learn this. And every person really needs to think what makes a difference in their life, right? You can, of course, keep working very hard at your job, and you know what the outcome will be. You know approximately what you'll be paid, you know what you'll get. When it comes to investing, however, everyone has to wake up to the fact that there is the potential to make far more than in your job. The potential. Number one, most people don't even realize that. All right, they're not familiar with raising capital. They're not familiar with acquiring assets that are hands off. They don't know what's possible. They don't know that it's possible to raise all the capital, put it in a hands off deal, and then make a spread between what you borrow at and what you invest at. Right? So you're going up against just people not knowing what's possible. So you have to overcome that. And for many people, that's very significant. Most people like to think that they do know a few things about life and that what they're doing must be close to optimal, without truly accepting that in reality, everybody is operating far, far, far away from optimal. And that, of course, includes me. Right? I mean, sure, I've done some things I'm proud of in life, but I'm nearly 50. I'm not a billionaire, right? There are obviously things I could have been doing with my life that would have been far, far better than what I did do with my life.
Yeah, yeah. If Musk is
So,
the measurement, then we're all lacking.
but that's okay. It
Yeah,
is okay in a totally happy, joyful manner to accept that we all know a tiny amount compared to what is possible to know and what we could have done.
yeah,
And therefore always be open to having a conversation with someone new and saying, did you realize you could do that? I had no idea. Tell me more. Getting people to that point where they are willing to even have the conversations to say, I had no idea, tell me more, can be a lot of effort, because many people are not growth mindset. They're not, I actually only know a tiny amount. They think they know a lot. And so it can be quite hard to squeeze that little bit more information in to their head to make them change. So yes, that's a real thing. Now, many people that teach investing solve that problem by essentially not caring. They'll charge a fee, they'll pump whatever they can, or just spray knowledge at someone for a week, and they know damn well 99% of those people in that room are not going to use any of it. But they
yeah,
don't care. Right?
yeah. They got their money.
We take a different, yeah, they got their money, they got paid. We take a different approach where our education is totally free, open access to anyone. We'll teach anyone that wishes to learn. And we make it a win-win because we create people that are skilled investors that then become skilled managers of capital and then can become part of the business, raising capital for themselves, but growing the ecosystem at the same time. So, it's all about building a win-win that goes better than the current model of teaching education. Our goal is to have an impact on the banking system, the bank, the financial education system, make the knowledge that is so empowering free and available to everyone, capital raising ecosystem, show people a different way to do that, and then when it comes to ethical investing and philanthropy, again, be very intentional on those two areas as well.
But Austin, do you
Is
think, I want to go back to what you were saying though about providing it for free, right? Because this is something I struggle with.
yeah.
My friend that runs the very large charity in India had a problem with the lepers. They provide care to the lepers, and they do a loan financing system for women there as well for businesses. And
Oh
they were
yes,
after,
I know that. Lone
yeah,
Star.
yes. And so they were
Yeah. And
remembering
they
the
found they got better
story.
client engagement when they charged a small amount of money, even a
Yeah,
nominal
yeah,
amount of
yeah,
money.
yeah,
They
yeah.
got
You know the story. So,
yeah.
and this I struggle with a lot because it's like, so you think there a perceived value and a greater likelihood of somebody taking the knowledge and the help that you have and having it be transformative in their life if you've charged them for it versus if there's no cost?
There is a significant difference between victims of leprosy and victims of financial ignorance. If we're talking about someone in the US, they're okay. All right. They are not desperate. They can walk down the street and go and shop at a shopping center. They're not truly in need. And
Correct.
so if I have to work too hard to manipulate someone's psychology, right? If I show someone my numbers, I tell them I own assets in 16 states. I must know a few things you don't know. Let's have a chat. And they walk away. I'll let them walk away. All right. Because there's
Yeah.
someone
Okay.
else that's
Okay.
going to be more
So
receptive and
yeah. So
right.
you changed something core to me. Okay. And I've never told you this. Um, well, because one, I do think highly of you. I look at your quantum physics, like that stuff blows my mind. The amount of time you spent at university. I was the first person in my family to not go to college. We're on the reverse track for, uh, um, but your definition of wealth, and I don't think you really put it to me like that. Um, and it was what you had said, and then it was again something that I'd read about truly your definition of wealth should be measured in how many days can you go without working. And you told when you explained to me how you view things, where it's like, at what point do I not need to work because I have income coming in? And I don't know why, because it seems so obvious, right? But I have, through the course of my life, we're the same age, I have created a weight that sits on me that forces me to work. You have created freedom for yourself. And so how did you know that was what you were supposed to do instead of building the machine that you were a slave to?
Absolutely. So I'm very much focused around goal setting. Many people will teach this. What is your goal? Right? And so if the goal is financial freedom, well, make that the goal. Financial freedom is not an asset that owns your time. Financial freedom is not a business that forces you to work. Financial freedom is not an amount of money in the bank. Financial freedom is an array of assets that look after you in every way and give you freedom. And as obvious as that is, many people think that to get to that end goal, they need to go through fire and brimstone and hell. And you don't, right? They think that
You really didn't think that, though.
yeah, people sit there and think to get to that goal of owning assets that look after me, first I need to learn how to put up drywall and do plumbing with my bare hands. It's like, no, you don't, because you're not going to be using that skill when you're financially free. Therefore, you don't need that skill in the beginning. No, you do not need to know how to answer a call at 3 a.m. and unplug a toilet and mollify a tenant that's upset. You do not, because you will not be using those skills at the end of the road. So why are you spending years, sometimes decades of your life, acquiring skills that you do not need? What you do need is the skill to even identify what a quality hands-off asset is. So start with that, right? And what you
Say
do
that one more
need
time. Say
is the
that one more
ability to
time.
raise the capital in a manner.
A quality,
You need
I was
the
going to restate.
skills
What's the
to
skill?
identify a quality hands-off asset.
Yes.
The skill is, it's all about doing due diligence, right? You need to know where to find the deals and how to do due diligence on the deals. And that is the only skill you need. This is what financial freedom looks like for me in its simplest form. You learn how to invest in commercial real estate. Now, this covers many different things, from buying an apartment building that already exists with tenants and making it better, from building one from the ground up, to building a hotel, to building a community around a lake that's then sold. It's many things. Commercial real estate, large-scale real estate deals. The parameters are usually very similar. They're average 3 to 5 years to double your money. Sounds too good to be true? It's just normal in the industry. In the US, a 20% per annum return to raise equity capital, which is at-risk capital. They're not actually promising you anything. They're just hoping to give you that, is very normal. And you get taxed as long-term capital gains. So 3 to 5 years later, you get a check back if you've done your homework, chosen a good operator and a good deal, for significantly more than you put in. And it's your income, taxed at long-term capital gains. So all you need to do to be financial free is every 6 months or every 3 months, identify one of those deals, allocate a chunk of capital, and then 3 to 5 years you get a check back, and get good at that. And that's how you build financial freedom. Do you need to do anything else than that? You do not, right? You can, of course, dump some money in a high yield savings account, in stocks, a few other things just for a bit of diversity and liquidity. But fundamentally, you need to learn how to identify quality deals with excellent downside protection and high upside potential. And it's not rocket science. If you can find a developer that has been in business for 10 plus years, and there are plenty of those, that has delivered a 20% plus return to investors over 10 plus deals, and there are plenty of operators like that. You can Google search them. They're not that hard to find. And they are building something very similar to what they've built in the past. So they're working in their area of expertise, and they're building something in high demand. Bustling suburb, very little land left. They're going to build another building that's in high demand. You have a great deal. There's very little chance of loss. Often you can find that if the building magically was built today at the price that it was locked in to be built at and rented out, you would already be well in the positive because of the equity, right? You build it, at a price where you have equity from day one. It's not rocket science, right? And it's way easier to learn than learning how to drive a car, which everyone learns how to do. That's much more complicated.
Yeah. Well, you made it sound so simple.
Something, find a developer that knows how to build it.
Yeah. Well, it's so logical the way you've laid it out.
Yeah. But it's just lack of knowledge. People don't necessarily even know that that entire industry exists.
True.
They have no idea.
True. Yeah.
And even if they do know it exists, many people will see a sticker, accredited investors only, and think, well, I'm not that, I can't do it. And again, that's not true. There are many, many operators out there that will take money from unaccredited investors, meaning everyone.
Yeah.
You just need to call them up and have an interview first so they know you, and then they can raise capital from you. And beyond that, there is the sheer fact that these deals typically do involve anything from 20 to 50 pages of numbers and pictures and things. And for most people, it's like, I have 5 minutes, I can't read it in 5 minutes, I can't invest, right? And the answer to that is, well, don't do that. If you know you cannot do that, don't. Do it a different way. And you join a group where people already know how to do this, where everyone has a little bit of time and everyone does a little bit of work, and collectively you all do the job right. You don't fight against the impossible, you find ways to make the impossible possible.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Austin. So I got a question for you. The last one.
But,
Wrap this up real quick. All right.
yeah.
When you're so you achieved financial freedom, which I feel like you've probably done a little bit a while ago. The camera went off again. But so you mentioned you don't have to fight and struggle and all this, but so many people find purpose in that, right? So as somebody who has achieved financial freedom, where do you find your purpose? Where do you find your
let's give that a
struggle?
concrete example. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's quantum computing and philanthropy, right? These are the things I love doing. So, building a compiler for a quantum computer is an incredibly challenging technical thing to do, and I love doing it. I don't build miniature train sets. I've met people that do. They were amazing. I build compilers for quantum computers, and that's my fun. I also really enjoy the whole philanthropic process, right? Meeting interesting people, sharing best practices, thinking about strategies for having an impact on the world at large. I enjoy that a great deal. I am not the kind of person that hungers for 4 hours a day on the golf course, right? I mean, if that's you, have at it, but it's not me. So absolutely, purpose is very important. But between 3 young kids, a family to run, quantum computing, philanthropy, a business to run, education, my life is very rich and full.
Yes.
When I want to not work, I just block out my calendar. Next week, my wife and I will be going to the Philippines, just the two of us. And, my mother-in-law was here. She'll be looking after the kids. We have a driver. For us, that's what freedom means.
Yes. Yes. So what are you doing? You have 3 young kids. So at what age, or are you already teaching them these principles?
Oh, yes. So 13, 10, and 8, they all have accounts with the business. My eldest has a diverse portfolio of cash, an index fund. He has $250 invested. Give a plug, mogul.club. Great little outfit. You can invest as a fractional owner in real estate for $250. That's a pretty good deal. Professionally managed pad splits, which are houses where you may have as many as 8 different rooms rented for high cash flow. It is a wonderful thing. It provides homes for people that are affordable, keep people off the streets, and a place to get started in life. If you don't have a lot of money to rent a whole house, go to a pad split. So again, many people never even heard, what's a pad split? A
Yeah, I
house
never heard of it.
where many rooms have been divided, right? So that the income of the property is far higher, and you're serving more people, providing affordable housing. Wonderful thing. Mogul.club. You can invest in one for $250. Did you know that? You don't need to be accredited. You can get started in real estate, $250. So my 13-year-old son has that. Solar panels. Ever wanted to invest in renewable energy? Energia.com. $100. You can invest in solar panels. 14% return. Right. So just as a note, there is far more out there that is possible than people know. And that will always be true. It's true for me. It's true for everyone. Just be open to that. right? When you meet someone interesting, don't think you know everything. Dig in. Hey, how did you do what you did? Clearly, teach me more. But yeah, absolutely, we start the kids off young. We want to make sure that they live with a growth mindset. We encourage our kids to never use the C word, can't, right? That's one of the worst words in the English language. Say any other word you like, but not that one. They're almost always this way we can.
Yes, yes, yes. So, all right. So for people, one, you can go read a lot about you just by going to stairwayinvest.com. You have a whole bio. I love the way you start that off explaining. I love the way you position yourself against the banker.
Yeah.
Funny story. My mom called me up one day to tell me that the teller at her bank told her I was wrong about something. And I was like, really? You're going to take the $15 an hour opinion over mine, but whatever, right? So I love that you position yourself against the bank because people at the bank don't do what you do. They don't own millions in solar and multifamily and single and financing flips, right? But people put them on a pedestal because they work at a bank, right? Yeah. So you can read about that at stairwayinvest.com.
Exists. Yeah. People forget that FDIC insurance exists because banks are risky, not because they're safe.
Yeah, because they don't know what they're doing. Where else is a good place? LinkedIn. Are you on LinkedIn?
I am on LinkedIn, yes. So you can easily find me on LinkedIn. Ultimately, if you go to the Stairway website, stairwayinvest.com, the contact details there are my contact details. You fill in that contact form, it comes straight through to me.
Yeah. So I think what you're doing is amazing. I've already told you that. I've made it a significant part of what I do in my business. I tell everybody about it. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on is I wanted to make this video. I'm sending it out to all my clients, plus putting it out on all of our social channels and YouTube and everything like that. And so I love the way you look at things. I love the things you've taught me already. And it's always super easy as a 49-year-old to acknowledge someone else your age can teach you things you haven't learned yet. That's sarcasm.
It's the way I live my life. I know some things, but there's a universe of stuff out there that I will never know. And I just hope I meet as many people as I can along my journey and learn as many of them as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope to introduce a lot of people over the next few years to stairwayinvest.com. And I just want to thank you for being able to come on here and kind of open up and talk about your history and how you got there. So thank you very much, Austin.
Pleasure, Elliot. Anytime.
All right. Take care. See you.
Names get remembered in this city for a reason. What you said in that seat, it's part of yours now. And whether they get it or not, Casey heard you. Backseat Ballers, where the ones who built it finally speak.